Karen O'Neill here from United Way with your 3 p.m. Chat. We've been coming to the community a couple of times a week and sharing all the great things that's happening in the community. This is hosted by our friends over at Your TV, so thank you, Your TV. I have some really cool guests on the line with me today. So I've got Shirley Davies, who is actually on our board of directors, as well as Kathy Clays, Lenore Cartledge. All three of these ladies are also members of the CK Quilters Guild here in Chatham-Kent. And then I've got my colleague, Jackie, on the line, who takes care of all of our marketing and communications. So welcome, ladies. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Welcome.
So I'm going to throw this out to you, Shirley, because I'm not a sewer. I had no idea that there's quilters guilds all over the country, well, the world for that matter, but CK has our very own. So maybe do you want to expand on what is it? What is this all about?
Okay, it's the Chatham-Kent Quilters Guild, and actually it was formed in 1998. And by a couple of ladies in the community who enjoyed quilting and knew that there were probably other people who enjoyed quilting and decided to form the guild. Right, currently we have about 120 members, and it's not all women. We have had some men. We do have a man right now who belongs to the guild, and we also have some youth who belong to the guild. So we're really pleased with that, because we do have it. You pay a membership. It's about $50 at present time. It's $50 a year, but for our youth, it's $15 a year. And we're really pleased because we really want to instill the love of sewing and being creative in the young people in the community. It is an interest group, people who enjoy quilting and creating, and all levels. You come together. And we host workshops, so you learn new techniques, create and make new articles, whether they be quilts, they could be tabletop runners, they could be pillow covers, anything that can be quilted, you can quilt. And as well, we have a meeting once a month. We meet about 11 times a year. We don't meet in December, but we do meet over the summertime. And sometimes it's our local members who provide the program and share ideas and techniques, share some of what they have done, because a lot of the members are extremely creative and do absolutely beautiful work. And sometimes we have guest speakers coming in to show their, we call it a trunk show, so they show their work. And we also have vendors, so you know, we all like to shop. And we do have within the community several shops, quilting shops, where we can buy material and supplies. And so we have vendors, and it's also just a nice way to get together once a month and meet friends, really, meet friends. We do comfort quilts, which is the sewers get together where we meet in our meeting facility twice a month to sew, but also a lot of people do the comfort quilts at home on their own time. And it's really is for people who have experienced traumatic events in their life, whether it be a serious illness, or they know someone who's experiencing a serious illness, or a serious event such as a fire. And it really is, we give the quilt to the person, we hear about the person, we give it to them, and it really is to provide comfort to them, and to know that somebody else in the community is thinking of them and cares.
Thanks, Julie. So in light of COVID, I imagine that your group is doing things, well, actually, I don't even imagine, I know that your group is doing things a little bit differently. You're sewing masks now. So I don't know who in this group can talk about that, but you know, I know that at United Way, our training room is now filled with PPE, our personal protective equipment, which some of them are the masks that you've sewn. So if somebody wants to jump in and tell me, how did this come to be that all of a sudden you switch gears and now you're sewing masks?
I'll just start, and then I'll hand it over to Kathy and Lenore. Shortly after we started into lockdown, And of course, you have to remember that as a group, many of our members are in the plus 70 age group, so are a high risk age group. And we meet in a church. So of course, we weren't able to meet anymore together. But we had a request to make masks actually from the hospital. And they were not the medical masks, they were not the N95 masks, it was not for the staff of the hospital. The request came to say, could you make masks for some of their patients who were coming into the hospital, say for chemotherapy or for dialysis. So it really was to provide that layer of protection to keep their secretions in, etc., and to help them feel more comfortable. So we were very, very clear that this was a personal covering, but it was not a medical mask and it was not for staff. And that request came out to us, and we said, yes, we can do that. We got other requests from other organizations, and I have to say that because of the age group that we have as sewers, I did say no to some groups because we had all of our members are sewing from their own home. As I said, they were in the high risk age group, so really had to be careful to say, don't violate public health guidelines. It's essential travel only. If you shouldn't be out there, don't be out there. And so we really set it up that we would sew the mask, but we would have drop-off point with no personal contact. And then we had 2 drop-off points. We brought those together, and one person would deliver it to the hospital. If an organization wanted us to do the delivery, then my answer to them was no, we can't do that, because I could not say our members would put themselves at risk to do that kind of thing and violate the guidelines. I'll let other people pick up.
Yeah, Kathy, if you can continue on with that, like you had mentioned when we were speaking a little bit earlier that I think that some of the recipients was Rock Missions.
Yeah, so I made about 200 masks for Rock Missions, and they used them for not only the volunteers, but also for the clients. And sometimes they would go out to a client and a neighbor would see they wanted a mask, and so then they would give them a mask as well.
First of all, I want to ask, where is this material coming from? The elastics, the fabric? I know that material is not cheap. So Lenore, do you have anything to share on that respect?
Most of us have a stash of fabric at home that we just fell in love with and bought, so we have it here. And then other people who didn't want to sew donated their fabric, some fabric. Through the Comfort Program, many people donate fabric that will then be used at a later date, but someone has this in her house that needs to be sorted through. So she was sorting through it, washing it, cutting it, and giving it to me already cut in pieces to make the mask. Some people were buying fabric, some people donated fabric, people who didn't want to sew, so bought elastic and donated it. We're really good at helping each other out. And because most of us are on email, getting the word out to the Quilt Guild members that face masks were needed was quite easy. I'm the newsletter editor, and so it's quite easy to get in contact with most of the Guild members just with one email. And if somebody needed elastic, they contacted me and said, okay, who has elastic now? And then money came in, and Kathy was able to buy some fabric with the donations for the face mask, for scrub caps. We're making the face masks and donating them to the hospital, but not for staff. But staff were wearing the proper PPE and finding the elastic very hard on their ears. So we heard back then from the hospital that they needed scrub caps with buttons on the back. You can see the buttons where my fingers are. Goes on like this, and here's my hairstyle with this. And then put the face mask on and put the elastic around the button to relieve the ears.
You look beautiful, Lenore.
Oh, thanks, Kathy. So there were quite a few different patterns for these. We found the patterns, of course, on the internet. Where do we find everything else? This particular pattern is from a Strathroy designer by the name of Kathy Miller. I started off using my own fabric for that and my own buttons and my own elastic, and then I ran out of elastic, so I posted on my Facebook page that I needed 3/4 inch or 1 inch elastic, and I had some donations. And then I ran out of 1 inch buttons, so I started asking people for buttons and had buttons donated to me. We just automatically, I think it is, share. Quilters give. So if somebody needs something, we share. And it's been an awesome process doing this, and not just the fact that it's Quilters, but because Chatham-Kent people are awesome sharers as well.
It's really interesting because, you know, a group like yours, you know, could almost be like in light of COVID and, you know, having to stay home and follow the public health recommendations. You really could have been a whole huge group. You said there's 120 members, with the majority of them, you know, pushing that population, right, that public health is saying stay put. So it really could have been a large group of people being further isolated, and you found a purpose as a community. So that's really interesting. Kathy, sorry. At the very beginning, you took up this piece of paper and you said, quilters never waste time. What were you doing?
Taking the paper off of half square triangles.
Is this a project that you're working on?
It's a block a month. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Jackie, you're on the call. You had a different perspective in looking at how much material it's actually taken. You know, it probably more with respect to how much has flown out the doors of our United Way building to different groups. And you were talking about soccer and football and I don't know, something that another way of looking at things. So talk about that.
Yeah, I love hearing stats and numbers. So I remember when Shirley first mentioned that her and the Quilters Guild were making masks for people. And a sewer myself was like, oh, how much material do you need for that? And she kind of gave me the basic measurements and I went, huh. So we've had both the Quilters Guild and a lot of other volunteers in our community drop off masks. And I just kind of did some quick math, and Karen laughs at me because with the amount of masks that we've put out at the time, and we've had more since then, we have given away 344 personally handmade masks to various volunteers in our community. And that took 43 yards of fabric and 240 yards of elastic. And so I was like, visualization, how does that look? And I went, 240 yards of elastic, that's the length of 2 FIFA soccer fields. So if anybody's ever seen like a soccer match and you see them running back and forth, that's how much 2 of those is how much these women have and gentlemen have put in masks that we have put out into the community. But in sewers terms, that's the equivalent of a gigantic industrial sized bolt of fabric and 4 bolts of elastic. So I was just trying to figure out other terminologies, and that would be the equivalent of 4 London buses, like English double-decker buses. That's 43 yards is approximately like 4 buses.
So Jackie, since you like numbers, I can tell you that in 2019, we gave out 323 quilts for comfort. So 110 of those went to Child Can. So those are kids with cancer. 60 went to Chatham-Kent Health Alliance and 153 went out locally. So that would be, as Shirley mentioned, you know, a fire or Rock Missions mentioned to me that they had just moved a single mom and 6 kids out of a 1-room motel into an apartment. And I was able to get them 7 quilts, age and gender appropriate, from our comfort quilts. And so that happened during COVID that I got those quilts. So that was pretty amazing. And just to put a plug in about our comfort quilts, The guild supports about a third of that, so their budget's around $6,000, and the guild gives from their membership funds about $2,000 of that. $2,000 usually gets kind of donated, either personal donations or organizations, and the other $2,000 usually comes from our quilt show, which we have every 3 years. And unfortunately, ours was canceled this year.
Mhm.
So,
It was due in May. It was due in May, and we had to close it down. Yeah. Just to follow up too with that, those comfort quilt numbers, 21 comfort quilts have been given out since lockdown.
Yep.
So, you know, apart from COVID-19, there's a lot of other concerns and trauma and emotional upsets and that within the community that we're continuing to make the comfort quilts and give out the comfort quilts to people as well.
yeah.
Going back to the masks, while I don't have actual numbers of how many we have made, I can give you an idea of where all masks were donated besides to United Way. So I have two different numbers from the ones that were given to the hospital. It was either 1,000 or 2,000. 200 were taken to London Sick Kids Hospital. Meals on Wheels, the Army Reserves, both Essex and Chatham-Kent, before they left town to help out in the nursing homes. Midwives, paramedics, funeral homes, Christian Horizons, with another quilting group called Quilting Sisters, or Stitching Sisters. Stitching Sisters, we made 500 masks for Dash Core Aluminum, which has transformed what they do to help out with the pandemic. And they needed the masks in order to keep their workers going. The Ursuline Sisters, doctors' offices, family and friends who work in factories and in stores, the food service industry. One person has made almost 800 masks. That was a couple of days ago when I asked her that question. Another has made 300. I've made approximately 250. And I just keep getting asked for them. Yes, I've donated to groups, but I get emails saying, can I have a mask? Can I have a mask? Or can I have 16 masks?
Do you have any idea how much your entire group collectively has made? That's my one question. And then do you charge for these masks? As I said, there's some costs that come with sewing.
We do not charge for these masks. We are donating them to the community to support our community. I have no idea on the numbers, and I've talked to other mask makers who said they have not kept any track of how many they have made. They just made them and they gave them away.
Yeah.
So if we were to add those together, Jackie, how many soccer fields?
Oh, gee willikers. I'm not going to do that math on the spot. I kind of needed a calculator to figure that out. And Google helped me a bit.
Almost 350 were 2 soccer fields. So we're probably, yeah.
For the elastic, and that's if you were like the amount that used. It's not like if we put the mask tip to tail, but that's how much fabric that these groups have had to use to make that much.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And because so many people across the world are making face masks, elastic was in very short supply for a while. It was we sometimes went 2 weeks without elastic, without being able to purchase additional elastic, knowing that it was on order and it was coming in. So we were scrounging around and using whatever we could, but we're really good scroungers.
Just to follow up with that, some of the masks were made then with ties, and I know I ran out of elastic, but I had a lot of heavy elastic bands, the 1/4 inch wide elastic bands. And after I soaked them in a solution of Javix and water for a while and dried them off, they are about 6 inches long when you cut them in half, and they work just fine as an ear loop. So there you go.
And the masks I made go over your head, not over your ears. So the elastic is this way. So now that we can get a haircut, I have to make new masks that go over my ears so I can get a haircut.
I can give you one, Kathy.
Thank you.
anyone want to find out some more information on CK Quilters Guild, like, you know, different events that maybe not taking place right now, but ways that they can learn and get involved, is there a website, a Facebook group, anything
We have
like
both a website and a Facebook page. If they just Google Chatham-Kent Quilters Guild, they'll come to they'll see the Facebook page and they go on. One of the things we're sharing on Facebook is some of the other activities that we've been doing, like other things we've been making throughout the pandemic to share with each other. During the guild meeting, we often have a show and share where people show people what they've made and that. So what we did with Facebook was did a virtual show and share, so people could continue to kind of see what other members were making. We didn't put the masks on, but other activities and things, that projects that people were making. So if people just Google Chatham-Kent Quilters Guild, they can see the Facebook and website.
Another activity, Karen, that the Guild has done is made sanitary napkins for Canadian Food for Hungry.
For children.
I think.
Canadian Food for Children.
For children, sorry, yep. I know that they had a workshop one day and they made over 12 dozen in one day.
This is really nice because I didn't know, I knew that you were making masks. I did know that, but it's really wonderful to see how your group is finding ways to come together. It kind of reminds me of, you know, not necessarily that work that United Way is doing or other nonprofits, but I guess what's resonating is that people are really getting creative about finding ways to still come together as we have to remain apart. So I want to thank you ladies very much for taking, you know, putting aside your sewing for a little bit and joining us in on this call. So I hope you all stay well and keep sewing. And for the rest of the community, if you want to find out some more information on the CK Quilters Guild, as Shirley was saying, Google it. You'll find links to their Facebook page, to their website. And outside of that, anyone out there in Chatham-Kent that is looking for help, looking to give help, so to volunteer, or definitely looking to donate and, you know, help the COVID relief cause, please visit ckgives.ca and you'll find some information there. So, you know, good afternoon, CK, and I hope everyone stays well and healthy.